Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the fuck it is?
Aries and Andy, chewing the jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut cocaine. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Fuck being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Subscribe, we lit.
There's levels to this shit. Before you was sucking on your mama's tit.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism,
Sexism,
much love to my loyal bitch bag holders.
rollers, clip loaders.
We got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Who the fuck do you think you are? That's what this episode should be called. Who the fuck do you think you are? We're here in Jacksonville, Florida. So last night, let's just jump right in.
Both feet, right in.
So last night, I get done with my show. And like normal protocol, normal shit, I go to the bartender. Hey, man, can I have my blah, 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 drink of choice? And he says to me, no, you have to go out to the, and just so you know, there's a bar in the comedy club of the hotel, and then there's a bar in the lounge area outside of the comedy club. And he goes, no, you have to go outside and get your drink. Everything's locked up here. And of course, at first, I'm not really knowing what he's meaning. I know what he's saying, but I'm like, okay, if I still want the drink, just unlock it and give me the drink. I'm the fucking headliner. Manager ain't got a problem with that. But then he goes on to say, well, I'm not serving you a drink because of your gay jokes, and I'm gay, bartender says to me. And Andy just happened to be standing right near me and kind of just was like.
I was stunned, and my whole impression was, why?
Yeah, you did it. Yeah, he did a Christopher Walken. Why?
Why?
Right. And of course, I once I realized what he said, I snapped. And I'm yelling at this motherfucker full volume. And I see several of the female wait staff run out to go get the manager. What's her name? Laura?
Leah. And I just want to say this, because I don't know if you know this, because we talked about it. And then I go home and I went through it back in my head after.
Right.
You didn't jump right in. You went, once you realized what it was, because I didn't realize what it was either.
Right.
I was like, oh, it's locked up. We'll just go to the other bar.
Right.
I get what he's saying.
Right.
They want to shut this down.
And I wouldn't have had a problem doing that.
Because there's another bar.
Because there's another bar. It's right. It's like fucking 3 feet.
Yeah, it's right out the door. But when then he goes, and because I was offended because I'm gay, and you went, that's really not your. And as soon as you got to that's not your, like you went kind of like normal, and then all of a sudden I think it clicked in you, this motherfucker, and you went
right.
That one's when you went from 0 to 100.
Yeah, because I'm yelling. I'm like, who the fuck are you to let your personal opinion based on your sexual orientation decide to cut me off because you're mad? Like, nigga, you're out of fucking pocket, dude. Like, stay in your fucking place. Like, he literally was offended because he was a gay man. He's the bartender. He didn't like my jokes. So he decided that he was going to make sure he didn't serve me. And it's like, in all my years of doing stand-up, 32 years, I've never had that happen. The idea that someone who works in a comedy club as an employee of the club is going, I'm gonna, because of my personal anger towards this person when he's doing his profession, which is to tell jokes. How the fuck do you even work in a place like that when you know what it's about?
And to my point, when this happened, I was trying to figure out what the joke was that offended him. And the reason why, and let me just put this in context for you, the reason why I was trying to figure out what that was, and I understood your opinion that you were saying to me, it doesn't make a difference because they paid you to come here to do the jokes.
Right.
They know your jokes. That's what they paid for. If you have a problem, it's the problem with the people who booked you. Then go have a problem with them. But on the other hand, if it was a black dude working at the comedy club and somebody came in and made a bunch of racist jokes, would you feel empowered if that bartender stood up and said, "Nah, I'm not going to take care of you because
your racist jokes"?
Yeah. How would you feel then, though?
The same way.
Because it was comedy.
It's comedy. It's his fucking job.
And I'm not.
And who the fuck are you?
And I'm not denying you say that. I'm glad, and I wanted you to say that because don't forget when Dave did that the special where he's going to win the award, where the Mark Twain Award.
Right.
And he goes to DC and he starts talking about, I don't care who you are, how you want, do comedy, be true to yourself. He even said, if you're racist, do what is in,
Right.
because that is who you are, and we'll work it out with comedy. We'll
Right.
work it out with comedy because that's what comedy, and then what I say on stage, our job as comedians is to take the most fucked up shit in the world, shake that shit up, throw it out to the audience. We can all work this out together, so we
Right.
can all get through it together. So I wanted to say that because I knew there was people out there that was going to listen, and then
Right.
they were going to say that. So I was happy you.
Well,
you
and
did.
here, I think I told you this once upon a long time ago when I would do Cobb's. The then manager of the place, he would always pick me up in his PT Cruiser so we could go do press. And I remember one morning he picked me up and, it was eerily silent in the car. And this is not the first time I had worked with this dude. But for some reason, he was just quiet this morning. And I think once he finally mustered up the courage, he told me, hey man, you should be aware of where you are. You're in San Francisco and you're doing gay jokes. And I don't know if I think blah, 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 blah. And he went on to give me his opinion. That was a manager of the club. And he was wrong. I told him straight out, hey man, don't tell me how to do my business in comedy, nigga. You just run the club. Don't tell me what jokes to do. I know where the fuck I'm at. He was wrong. Now you think a fucking bartender's in the right?
No, I didn't think the bartender was in the right. That's why I went, why?
Right.
In my head, I just kept doing that over and over because I didn't understand. Because first of all, a joke, and the big word is punching down right now. I think, and anything that you do that hits those gay notes where you go in and you say, you
I
have
like
that joke.
Gay notes.
Gay notes. You did it all within. I want to say this. To me, it was human and it was a joke. I believe, listen, I'm going to say this, and this is just how I feel about it. There is a large faction, or I should say, from what I understand, I feel that there's a large faction of the LGBTQ community that wants to run roughshod over what's allowed to be said. And it's funny because you're a black dude and a Jew who have been made fun of and have been in situations where out of our control,
Right.
where we're actually, just let's be straight up about it. There's some genocide in our history.
Mm-hmm.
And we still joke because that is part of the answer, is to be part of the conversation and to be able to joke. And I understand if you're coming from a place where you feel like you're under, and that punching down situation where people who have power, you have power though. We all have some power, and the power we have is in humor. And humor is the way that we actually set the table with this so that we can have the conversation at the table.
I'm telling you, man, it's so hard because, you are, and part of what we're going to talk about later, well, that's another thing. But anyway, this fine line that you have to, where it's like you want to express yourself freely, you want to express yourself honestly, but you don't want your emotion and your anger to make you say something that you might not mean or that you might regret. But it feels like I'm dancing around trying to be polite and honest. And part of that honesty is coming from a certain emotion. But I don't want that emotion to make me, what the fuck? Like, okay, this fucking community is really bothering me because they're bullies. They're fucking bullies. And let me not say they as in all, because when I recently watched the latest episode of Bill Maher, this guy who he's had on numerous times is a gay man. And the guy said to Bill, we in the gay community want to be made fun of. The majority of us are not the people that feel like Dave is wrong. The majority of us love Dave, love what Dave has to say, love what Ricky Gervais has to say, love what comedians have to say. We want to be made fun of. So that being said, let me not make it seem like it's all, but Jesus, this feeling of we're above being made fun of. It's almost like, how people associate, white privilege, white people and the white privilege. This thing where they automatically feel like they can't be fucked with is insane to me. And the idea of forcing that on people is bully as shit to me.
This is part of being inclusive, which there's two things to this that I have to add to this. One, making someone be polite doesn't change anything. Having the conversation does. So making people dance around or, like you just said, skirt an issue so that you don't offend is really not inclusive. You're no longer inclusive. Now we're just saying it to be polite in front of you. So that doesn't get us anywhere. We need to have the reason we joke is to be inclusive so that we can. I like how I said set the table so we can have the dinner conversation.
Right.
And so that's what comedians do. And I'm really going to stick to this. And when people talk about Dave and a hill to die on with what he's done, it's not about the group. It's about the right to be able to speak freely. And that's where this ends up at. And I love when people speak freely. I love when people are anti-Semitic. I love when people come out and they're not for Jews. You know why? I know who you are. And that I appreciate that in the way that I don't have to support you now. If I don't want to support you, if I don't want my dollars to flow into your community, I know how to take those away. But if we're just going to be a polite society and be backdoor in our house talking shit about everyone, that doesn't help anybody.
You know, I said to him last night, yo, would you say that to Jerry Seinfeld? Would you say that to Dave Chappelle? And this motherfucker went on to say, Dave wouldn't be disrespectful like that. Nigga, have you seen The Closer? And I wouldn't even use the word disrespectful because he wasn't disrespectful. Matter of fact, he was very respectful. But this dude acted like he said in so many words, Dave wouldn't make those kind of jokes. I'm like, nigga, what?
But before I even went there, what was disrespectful about what you did? This is what I was trying to figure out. That's where my why came from. I really went through your set, but I'm not there for your whole set. So I'm not there in his head. And again, I've been in cities before where I said something and a word triggered somebody. A word. They didn't listen to the joke. They only heard the word.
Right.
And man, if you don't listen to the joke, that joke I do with the dead COVID babies, if you don't listen to the joke, we're not going anywhere. If you're triggered by, and I had someone in an audience come up to me and go, they lost their child, not from COVID, thank God, but losing a child doesn't make a difference. They lost an infant, and they lost him from SIDS. And so that joke hit her hard. But her husband was out there and he goes, it's a joke. It had nothing to do with any of that. It didn't even have anything to do with the babies. You weren't. Right. So, you know, I'm telling you, I don't know what you said. So this is why I'm still stuck on this.
Listen, man, I told the manager, he can't be here for the rest of I only got 1 day left, 2 shows, but I said, he can't be here. Now, I don't know if I said to Leah, I don't know if you'll fire him for real. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't care about that. But I know he can't be here tomorrow. Because if he's here, I'm not performing. And so y'all know I told Andy, this is only the second time where I've had somebody removed. This was by far the worst, but I was in Helium, Philly, and I remember when I had my promotion picture was me with the little boxing gloves on my fingers, and I was Lavelle Crawford weight. And I remember I was standing in by my picture, not by my picture, but near it. And one of the female wait staff was staring at my picture. She didn't know I was behind her in the distance. And she just goes, oh my God, what a fat fuck. He looks horrible. And I said, yeah, you know, you probably shouldn't say that type of shit even to yourself before looking around. And I said, that bitch has got to go. So, but this shit was just far worse. It was like, nigga, how dare you tell me how to do my craft as a fucking bartender that works in the club, and then you refuse to serve me because of your personal pissiness? Okay. Suck my dick.
Okay, but the person who said that when they saw your picture, what if in their head, they saw you, they looked at the picture, they don't see you as that picture because you lost weight since that picture.
Right.
And she was joking in her own head, but said it out loud. And she was like, whoa, because that doesn't look like you now. And so she went, woo, and was referring to the picture. What a fat fuck in that picture.
Right.
You don't think you kind of did what the bartender did?
No, not at all. Because I'm the reason why that bitch is making money.
Okay, so that's the point then, because you are there and you were
I'm the
booked,
star,
and you were
goddammit.
booked by the club,
Right.
And so the reason that guy shouldn't be here this rest of this weekend is because you're going to be here because the club paid you to be here, and if he's that offended, he should remove himself because that's the place that he works booked you to be here, and that's your job. You're performing your job. He can't perform his job because he can't get you a drink, right? Because he said he can't.
Right.
So that's
he said
on
he won't.
He won't. So that's on him. He can't perform his job.
Right.
So he needs not to be here.
He don't need to be in the comedy industry, man. Not with feelings that brittle. He's in the wrong industry.
Dude, there's a you know how people write on the walls in the green rooms at the
Right.
comedy club or the back of the stage? Back of the stage, there's a bigger thing that says, I hate Jews.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. You got to show me that.
Yeah, I'll show you where it is.
Right.
I hate Jews. So now I read it and I went, I don't know if it was a joke because it doesn't have anything. I
Right.
don't know if someone was just there. I don't know if they were working with the Jew that weekend. I
Right.
don't know if someone and they or a big Jewish audience. I don't know what it came from, but I just had to look at it. And I'm in a comedy club. I'm in the presence of mind. And I went, what the fuck is that? You know,
Right,
and move on
right.
because
You know, here's what I'm going to say, too. And this is my last point. You know, I was so enraged last night. And I remember I said to him, it's something. Who the fuck are you, cocksucker? And he went, whoa. And I said, blah, 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 nigga. He said, I'm not either of those things. And it's like, so, and this is the part that really, you motherfucker. So you lit the fuse, right? And now when the dynamite explodes, you're sitting back going, what did I do? Playing victim. Like he played victim, like, whoa, like your anger. I'm not a cocksucker. I'm not a nigger. I'm none of those things. Nigga, we're here because you lit this fuse that you didn't have to light, that it wasn't your place to fucking light.
well, and I like
It's like if you're gonna do some shit, stand the fuck on it.
I like how mad you were last night because when I was saying to you last night, it was funny to me last night because I kept going, I was just trying to figure out what the fuck you said. That isn't important. You were like, you were just pissed. Like that doesn't have anything to do with it. Even
Right.
if I could have came up with something, you had been like,
Right.
that's not, I was just trying to figure out what was in his head though. And we finally came to the agreement. I was looking for the human element. What
Right.
in this human way did offended him? And I still couldn't come up with it other than he was offended because he heard words that he didn't like. So, those words come in sentences, and sentences come in phrases, and that means something.
Right.
If comedy. So okay, so we got that one, and we're here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Staying at the Ramada.
Yeah, the Ramada.
We're not going to get too deep into that one. It is a comedy zone. Good shows, good crowd, good people.
Not
been coming
bad.
in.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
been fun. It's been fun so far.
Nothing. So I wanted, do you want to, since we're in a kind of a semi. Since this is still kind of funny, we're making it funny.
Right.
Do you want to go to Nut Girl before we get into the other two
I
things?
love Nut Girl.
Let's go to Nut Girl.
Just real quick, and this is what my tie-in a little bit to Right Hook Ronald. Or better yet, let me quote Chris Rock. There's a reason it hit everybody. Just don't do it. I'm sure some of y'all may have seen the girl on the internet who said she went to a gas station to get fucked by her ex-boyfriend. He nutted in her, and then after she fucked him, went home to her current boyfriend, and he ate her pussy. So essentially, he ate her ex-boyfriend's nut.
He did say that it was her pussy tasted great though. That's what she was enjoying. And
Right, and to her, this was amusing. Oh, Ronald! You know, I'm going to tell you, man, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because I guarantee you the emails, we're going to call the emails I told Andy, we're going to call it Riddles and Ronald, because the responses about that Riddle and Ronald, the phone lines are lit up. But we have to address trifling bitches, man. Again, at the end of the day, you don't put your hands on a woman unless you absolutely have to out of self-defense. But Jesus, man.
You remember Beretta when you were growing up, right?
The show with the parrot, right?
The parrot and that Robert Blake guy.
Yeah, who supposedly killed his wife or said he whatever.
Yeah. But remember the song is Beretta and it said, "Don't do the crime."
if you can't do the time. Right.
Yeah, so there you go.
What a trifling. Come on, man. Come on, yo. How fucked up is that?
I'm moving this over a little bit. You're out of frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fucked up. And what if that's how you learned about it as that video went viral?
Right.
You don't expect there to be some feelings in that?
You know, that's like that funny joke Bill Burr had when he said women, you know, he gave examples of foul shit women do. And he goes, I can't at least like just put her in a headlock and give her some noogies. Like there's nothing? Oh, God.
I like Chris's Rock though when he says, who lies more, men or women? And he said, men lie more, women tell the bigger lies.
Yeah. I'm telling you, nigga's genius. He just don't make me laugh. But he's genius. Okay.
Okay, deeper.
R. Kelly, 30 years.
Yeah.
Damn.
I have not followed up with it. I saw the headline. I don't know if is there probation?
I don't know, but let me ask you this question. And this is one of those things, people, you got to forgive us. Because I know there are white people who go, God, everything is about race. But there are people who made the point, you know. And listen, pedophile, one of probably the most horrific things you could be. You're the scum of the earth. It's bad when you go to jail and killers want to kill you.
Yeah.
But, so I'm not saying he shouldn't do the time. But somebody pointed out, not one arrest has been made from the Epstein camp of all the people that congregated to those islands and fucked with kids. But here's R. Kelly doing 30 years.
Okay. And I'm not gonna dispute that is still factual, everything that you just said. No, that hasn't happened yet. R. Kelly has all those videos though. He recorded them.
My mind's telling me no, but the video's yelling yes.
You know, I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to compare the two, but some people cause their own demise. And I'm going to bring up Richard Nixon, who recorded all those tapes. And he didn't have to record those tapes.
Right.
And when they got a hold of the tapes, that's what the evidence they had, that he had to resign, else he would have been impeached. Some people do cause their own demise.
Yes, and that's what makes it hard sometimes when you want to pull the race card, because while you pull the race card where that might be valid, but it still doesn't negate the crime that was actually committed, which means you got to pay for that. That's what makes these waters murky, because you go, no one from the Epstein, rich and white and powerful, has been arrested. But this brother gets 30 years. Racism, bullshit. And again, that might be true, but he still fucked them girls, and it's on tape. So,
and then when you have people coming in and say that they saw girls in rooms that knew him, didn't have anything against him, and say, I mean, they had the evidence. I mean, and I'm not saying, I'm not dismissing the other side of that at all.
Right.
But, you know, as far as the Epstein case goes too, I just want to say this. There are people that were trying to do things about it. And I know that you haven't talked about the people on the island. Now, before we go too far, and I get off this, there's people that were on the plane that knew Epstein. Rich people run around with billionaires, run around with billionaires. So you're talking about high profile people that used the plane. There was an island. Listen, if you had the opportunity to get on someone's private plane and go to an island and you didn't know that the dude was doing that, I'm not saying all those people. They should be able to find some people, and they have that chick she just got a bunch of years. The
wife?
His girlfriend or whatever.
The one with the black hair?
Yeah.
Oh.
She just got convicted.
Really?
I don't know how many years she got, but they're supposed to be building up cases. And let me just say this too, but as we continue to do this, R. Kelly's case took years.
Right.
They just got all this evidence, hopefully evidence from her. And so these cases on people who are financially equipped, you have to go after financially equipped people in a different way, because they have ways to get out of it. They have ways to lawyer it up.
They have white skin, nigga. That's how they get out of it.
And money, though. There's a lot of poor people, white, doing a lot of time for maybe some shit that they didn't do. But rich people tend to be
Green and white equals freedom.
freedom.
Nigga. Do that math, nigga. Green and white equals freedom.
That's a superhero right there.
All right.
When you turn green and white together, you do become a superhero. But the last one, are we going to the last one? Are you ready to?
Yeah, we can go to the last one. To me, the question is just what trumps what, you know what I'm saying? The race card or the crime itself? Like what trumps what? Who has, you know what I'm saying? If you put both on a scale, which one is the heaviest?
I think it's about what you've been affected by the most. If race has always been an issue that has come up and has determined or derailed your life, it's going to be race. If financial reasons, it's going to be financial. If it's somebody did something that wronged you sexually, then it's going to be the sexual encounter. I think it all depends on how your life has been affected. I don't think you could tell anybody who's been wronged, who's been hurt, who's had racism that has affected their life, and tell them that none of those that none of them are more important than the other. They're all equally as important.
All right. Last one.
And here we go, because this will be the bigger one. The last one, Akron, Ohio. 25-year-old man was. You know what? I know that it was a stop, and it was supposed to be a traffic stop, and I know there was someone fled, but I'm just gonna. But it was 90 shots that they know of, I guess. So all that other stuff that I said before, but this dude was gunned down.
You said 90 shots and he was hit 60 times.
60 times he was shot. And listen, I'm not even trying to be funny, but I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like I'm trying to be a comedian. I haven't seen 90 shots like that. Like the idea of that, to me, the only idea that I could have 90 shots and 60 hits was Sonny in The Godfather. That's
right.
That's what it's equal to in your mind. I don't know how else you can visualize it. But instead of gangsters firing these shots,
it was police.
It was the police.
It was gangsters.
Well, it was the Blue Gang.
Okay, but gangsters.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say what you said yesterday when we were eating, which was kind of poignant, the way you put it when you said the part that really made you upset. I mean, the shooting itself, obviously, is
yeah. I haven't
up.
even got to that part because that's the last part of it.
Right. You want to say it? Or?
No, you could say it because it obviously affected you the way.
Yeah, I mean, when you said the worst part about it to me, besides the shooting, was the fact that they handcuffed him.
Yeah, that was the cherry. That was the extra.
They handcuffed a dead body with 60 bullets, and you said they made it so that not even God could take him.
That's what the handcuffs were for. We got to hold on to him for a while, God.
Like that, it's so crazy because just when it started to feel, because it felt like at a certain point in time, you couldn't turn on the TV without hearing a story about a black person being gunned down, unarmed. And then for a second, it really felt like it, not to say that it stopped, but you just didn't hear about it as much. So maybe there was like after the George Floyd verdict, that, put a clamp on things, because cops were figuring, holy shit, we can get in trouble now. But it's like it only went away or felt like it went away for a second, and now it's back again.
No, now what they have said is that there was apparently there's no video. We don't have a lot of information on this, and because it didn't release a lot. If you're in Ohio, you probably know a lot more than this being put on the national news right now. But apparently, they say he fired shots out of his car, and then that's why when they were chasing him, that they were fear for their life, and that's when they unloaded. Now, a couple things. That's a lot of shots, and then you could say how many cops were there, how many times they fired, and the training for police is to empty your clip. So that's part of it, but that's not. I can't fathom that. I can't believe that is the right way to train people. I know that right now, I know that in the military when my brother was there, they had rules of engagement for the enemy combatants. Now, I want to make sure that we have that understood. Not your fellow citizens, enemy combatants that were there to kill you. There was rules of engagement. And if you broke those rules of engagement, you would go up for a court martial and you would be punished accordingly. I don't understand how, if someone is running away, and this is the information I have so far, if they're running away, how you can shoot. Because the rules of engagement in the military, they have to be within so many feet, they have to be facing you, there has to be, and so someone could come to kill you, turn around, run past that, and stop, and you're not allowed to kill him.
Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to cut you off, but all the shit you talking about, rules, all that gets thrown away. Because we know what it really is.
And I know, but that's what I'm saying. But that's why I'm saying it. I'm saying it to say this. If it can be done with enemy combatants in a foreign land,
then it should be able to be done here.
And
but it don't matter. We know what it is.
So then we have to.
It ain't about rules. It ain't about regulations. Fuck that. It's about it. That's a Negro. Pop, 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 pop.
But my point to that is, if it can be done somewhere else, they can't talk about this training and that they were in danger and they want to get home. Everybody wants to get home to see their kids. Well, some people don't want to see their kids, but I mean, everybody wants to get home to see their kids for the more. We all trying to do the best we can, but how are you not held accountable for this action? If you were in war, you would be held accountable for that action. Now, I haven't seen it. So I'm still leaving that up, and I'm not trying to go any further. I'm saying that these are the facts that about military rules of engagement, and if we can't even offer our American citizenry the same rules, I mean, this is America.
There is something that you guys absolutely have to check out, and the funny thing is, usually before I leave town, I go through Netflix and all my streaming services and pick out what I'm going to watch during my flight. And I was perusing through Netflix and I just happened to catch this thing that I downloaded, this documentary called Who We Are. Excuse me. Oh, Jesus. A Chronicle of Racism in America. And it was fantastic. And when I landed, Andy hit me up and was like, yo, you got to check this out. And he sent me the picture, not knowing that I had already downloaded and watched it. And I was like, holy shit, dude, I just literally watched that. So through telekinetic, what do you call it? Telekinesis?
Telekinesis.
Through telekinesis-like powers, we both was drawn to something that was great. You guys got to check it out. It's on Netflix. It's called Who We Are, A Chronicle of Racism in America.
And I'm not going to take full credit for it because I'm pretty sure that someone hit me up on my Instagram and sent it to me a few weeks ago, maybe even a few months ago, and I put it in my list of things that I wanted to get to. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I watched like the first 20 minutes, and I knew I had to get back to it, and I finally finished it up last week, and then I was like, I got to get Aries, and then but you had already watched it, so it was. I want to just give out. We do read what you send us, or I know Aries does. I want to let you people know that if you do have sent me something, or maybe I didn't respond, I do read it. I do put it in my notes. I do try to get to everything, but it's a lot of notes. Right?
And at some point, I think we probably may discuss this. We probably discuss that next week.
I hope so because
while we're in Irvine,
because it's good. It's really
it is. But it's a tough watch because what's tough about this is. So many of the things they discussed, I've seen separately in other documentaries. Oh, I saw a little bit of this in that one, a little bit of this in this one. This has it all. From slavery to current day. It's all, this is the all-star of I hate white people in terms of emotions. That's what I'm saying. It's a tough watch because I watched this motherfucker and there were several moments where I just went, whoo!
What I liked about this is, it's being told from a single person's point of view who's lived this through America, and it really holds America, and this is what I love about it, holds America to the hypocrisy. And I think that if you guys have a chance to check it out before we talk about it, and if you even want to send some things in this next week, if you get a chance to, it'd be great.
Please, we're giving you, we don't really do that often as much as we should, but we're giving you the jump. So please watch this because we will talk about it next week. And that way, as we're talking about it, you will know, yep, I feel you. I hear you. I get it because I saw it. It's very powerful.
And it's on Netflix. So
Yeah. All right, let's get to some. Speaking of a lighter note, let's get to some music box. Kenny G.
Yeah, Kenny G, KG, which just I was really excited because when I wrote KG and I saw it there, I got very excited because we just made jokes about this last week.
Yes, I thought you was gonna say Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, I could have said Kevin
Garnett.
Yeah, that's for you.
Yeah. Yo, it's on HBO. It's called Music Box, and I didn't realize until I started flipping through the episodes. These are the same people that did the DMX documentary. But I think they've got like 6 episodes. They do one on Alanis Morissette,
which is actually good.
That's the one I fell asleep on.
It was,
of all the ones I watched, that was the one I fell asleep
on. The
on.
reason I got excited about it is because the only reason I thought it was good, honestly, I shouldn't say that. I thought it was good because it was interesting because it was a certain time period in her life when she was very young, and she starts from her youth, and you find out about her being molested in that time period by her manager.
Really?
She was only 16. He was. But I guess at 16, he couldn't get us into much trouble. And the reason I even brought that up right now is because we just finished up with the R. Kelly thing. Right. So, yeah. So,
well, I mean, they have one on Alanis Morissette, DMX, 3 of which we're going to talk about. Robert Steiger, called Mr. Saturday Night, Kenny G, and one about Woodstock 99. And I got to say, man, I know that Kenny G catches a lot of flack, and I'm a jazz fan, and I just never really, I'm more Miles Davis, John Coltrane.
Which are the 2 that they say in the video when you watch the documentary. And those, because I laughed at that when he said that, because those are the 2 that we've used when we were describing things.
Yeah. But dude, I never really got into Kenny G, not for the reasons that everybody gives him shit for. I just didn't. But after seeing this, man, fucking mazel tov, man. If you can't respect this man, you just a hater. Kenny was a bad boy, man. But I will say, his music, when you hear it, it does feel like the Black Mall music. The music you hear in Black Malls and on the end of a Cosby episode.
Well, it's why I made that reference the other day. It's very, I call it, and there's nothing wrong with this, but there has to be things to open the door. And if you're a jazz, if you're not really a jazz person, it's easy to get, it's easy to understand it, it's easy, and that's why it's so likable. But I'm going to say this before we go any further, because I don't want to sound like I'm putting Kenny G down. It's not about putting him down, but it's entry level to get people into it because of the way it's set up. When he plays his sax, it is the forefront. It's in the front, and it's not necessarily working with the other instruments. It's in jazz.
But is it sax he plays?
Yeah, it's sax and that's the clarinet thing. But he plays sax. It's a sax.
No, but that long. Yeah, that's a sax.
That's his. Yeah, it's
not a flute, right?
No, it would be it's not a clarinet, so it's a sax. It's all brass and it goes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought the sax was,
Yeah, that's what he plays that one too, though. He has that.
I've never heard him play that, but okay.
So, see, this is my brain where it just went out. No, okay. Here's what I was going to say. Since it is, how he sets it up, it's very popish because you have that easy to understand one instrument in front. Where with jazz that we talk about, the jazz is competing structures where it's playing with other instruments and not necessarily in the same cadence that you would normally find. His is very upfront. Listen to this. It's very soothing, easy way to get into jazz. I don't have a problem with that because everybody needs a way to get into it. And that's why they coined smooth jazz in this for him.
Smooth jazz, right.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this about classical music. Classical music, there's a lot of artists, but one of the most famous is Mozart. And Mozart at its time was also that same thing. He was playing, Mozart, I guess, was playing the piano at 4, and then wrote his first, but they're simple and not, it sounds funny to say that classical music like that is simple, but it was looked upon as simple as almost like Kenny G was looked upon. And as it grows in time, some of the things that is done in simplicity, and when you remove all the other stuff, is some of the most beautiful. So I'm saying, and it seems like I'm not going to get too far. This is where that's kind of what this documentary did. Is it brought you from the beginning to where he is today, and I think that's kind of fell into that. That's how I compared it. It was to like Mozart.
I don't know because unless you're an instrument guy, I don't know how it works. But maybe you do know something because I'm curious about when he's blowing into this thing, and like a singer who would hit riffs. Oh, however the singers hit them riffs. Obviously, that's breath control. That's whatever that ability is to allow you to do that. When he's blowing into that instrument and he's hitting all them licks, them different licks, is that him with a breathing pattern doing that? Or he's just blowing and that's him hitting the whatever it is, I don't want to say buttons, how my ignorance to this shit.
I don't know what those things are called.
Right,
either,
with whatever where he's moving his fingers. Is that what's creating the licks, or
it's
is
the
it
opening? It's the opening to.
So he's just blowing. He's just going.
There's a certain blow and how hard you blow to get the notes that you're looking for, and yeah,
that's impressive, man.
Dude, he's
That's
a very
impressive.
talented. But here, okay. I don't want to go off the rails on this. I don't know where your notes are on this, but with him, some of the things though, although they're musical, they're also very self-serving. He's the lead in his music. He's the lead. Every other instrument's a background player in his music, except for now. Now he's kind of trying to do it a little differently. But
is that a bad thing? You say it like it's a bad thing.
In jazz is about instruments. It's an instrumental. It has more going on than what his does. That's why it's jazz sometimes has rough edges. Jazz has some things that sometimes a person who isn't into music doesn't get or doesn't pick up on. It's very the drum pattern can almost sometimes it fights. Sometimes the instruments have to fight to make the sound that you're trying to create.
Right.
There's no fight in his music. It's very nice. That's the smooth jazz sound.
Right.
But he's so. I don't know him, but the way he's upfront about it, and then to try to go for that world's record. I'm saying this because you were talking about
with the note, yes,
with the one note, and he got it. 45 minutes and something. Saying, listen, name another artist, a musical artist that wants the Guinness Book of World's record. Like no one is going. You know what? I'm going to show everybody what I can. There's something about that was off character to me. Of a person who was spiritually connected to the music. I'm just going to blow a note for 45 minutes, and now I have a Guinness Book of World's record.
Do you see that as being the same thing or different when Dave Chappelle does 6 hours on stage? Or Dane Cook wants to try to do 8 hours to break that record?
Yeah, a little bit, but there's something different because Dave ain't doing one note. Dave is like coming out and he's really working and trying to find Dave. To me, though, and with Dave, and maybe it's my love of Dave that I'm going to overlook it, and maybe it's just. But there is some narcissism in that you think that you need to talk to people for 6 hours. But what's going on in Dave's head that he has 6 hours worth of talking to you about? I think sometimes in a lot of comedians they have so much going in there they need to go out and. To give Dave some credit too, he went away for a long time. There's a lot that's built up in his head that when he was doing that. I haven't heard Dave doing 6 hours or trying to even do 4 hours anymore.
Right.
Dave's doing 2 hours at the most.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that might have been part of that timing. I am giving Dave a break because it's my,
right.
My little love for Dave, but that's it.
When the guy said, when they interviewed several jazz artists and they were kind of trying to describe why Kenny hits them the wrong way. And the one guy goes, because they play his music at banks and dentist offices and other corporate establishments, it feels like it's corporate America's way of trying to soothe my mind. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Some of that shit just felt like hatred. I guess maybe I have to be a jazz musician to understand it because I don't understand it. It sounds good. He's successful. Let that man live.
I'm not saying that he shouldn't be successful.
Right.
He's tapped into a note. It's like when there's chefs that do fine dining, right? Yeah, now burgers have been mainstreamed. There's burger restaurants that are considered like gourmet burger restaurants. But if you were just the burger guy a long time ago, before like we kind of went into this more approachable food, you were kind of like, that's not chefing. You're not a culinary genius. You figured out how to mix some condiments and some cheeses to make this gourmet burger, and now you're a fucking superstar chef.
Right.
You know what I mean? I understand when you reach a level and you studied and you've done something that you brought to another level.
Right.
And someone just walks in and goes, all these levels aren't necessary. Just do it like this.
Right.
And you chop all that shit down and you make it so the people that appreciate where that level that you're at is don't really, it doesn't have enough in there. But for the average part of America, the big part of America, that middle of America can go, ooh, I like that. That's the kind of jazz I've been looking for. But it doesn't have all the flavor in it.
Right. Okay. I know that when we were talking recently, you mentioned this. Do you think that the Harlem Globetrotters NBA Jazz comparison was fair?
I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't when I was watching it, but I don't even remember the comparison now.
I'm trying to fucking remember it right now. I wrote it down. I didn't write what the comparison was because I thought I could remember it.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Something about, God, fuck. And this was such a pivotal point because I remember you telling me about Curly Neal and how you like the Globetrotters. And
oh, yeah. But how they played the games, and I forgot what the compare. I didn't agree.
Fuck, I'm mad at myself for this.
And I didn't write that one down either. I didn't write that one down. But you know what? Hold on, guys. We'll be right back.
Andy came equipped, y'all, with this new fucking iPad that he bought because, he was being Jewy and didn't want to spend fucking money. But now we see the brilliance of it. Not only do we have a better recording, but he was able to pull up his HBO Max app and see the piece that we wanted to discuss. Now we remember. So in comparison to the Harlem Globetrotters, they were basically saying, those guys do a lot of tricks, roll the ball off their finger, have it come off their shoulders. And to real NBA players, it's fun, it's cute, but it's not real basketball. So when Kenny G is doing what he's doing, the way he's doing it, it's not real jazz. It's not respectable jazz to real jazz players.
See, okay. The reason I didn't like the comparison is because, well, you know what? It works. But here's the thing that I was trying to get to in this, and I think the chef comparison is similar. Yeah, he can play,
right?
But he's taken, he's taken all the fat part of it out. He's taken all the good stuff, like he said, spinning the ball on your finger. Every basketball player knows how to spin the ball on the finger. They can do little moves where they rotate the basketball and it goes from one hand across their chest to the other. Right. Everybody can do that. That plays in the NBA. But if that's all that they did, and Michael Jordan and let's go with LeBron James since everybody wants to put. But if those two were secondary because they had all the skills. And like when I'm talking about chefs who go through and learn all the culinary techniques, but you're only using a certain amount of them, is that level? You can't deny that he's opened up the door and he sends out an entry level product that gets more people involved, and that's important because as you get involved, maybe you get more. And Kenny G was still becoming Kenny G, and he's still going to become more Kenny G later. I'm not saying it's done, and I like. My girl took me to see Kenny G.
Did you enjoy it?
I mean, it's a fun show. And I mean, it's a lot of women at his concert. And we said that, like when we were looking this up, we saw the part where Katie Couric, when she used to be on the Today Show, it's like, and he says, well, how do you describe, she goes, how do you describe your music? And he goes, I don't know. How would you describe my music? And she goes, sexy, like
she looked turned on.
Yeah. But I asked Aries when we just saw that, I go, is that your fucking music? And Aries went, it could be. It could be.
Listen, jazz is not, well, let me not say that. You can definitely fuck the jazz. Miles Davis and again, John Coltrane, they got some cuts. But then, listen, after watching this and his most popular, what was the name of the most popular song? I got it right here because I downloaded it. Hold on, I got it right here. Songbird.
Songbird, yeah.
Listen.
It's a nice song.
Wait.
You gonna hawk Tui in your girl's face with that song going?
Come on, man. Like,
Man, you know what she did? She just got out of the shower there. Water's dripping on her. Yeah.
come on. You can't fuck to that.
It's all the prequel. It's everything before fucking.
Okay, foreplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Listen.
But not that's mental foreplay music.
Listen.
It isn't even the strength. It's not like
I smell a little bit of hatred on some of these guys' parts. And you know what?
Yes.
This might, again, be wrong for me to say because I'm not a jazz artist. So maybe because I'm not a jazz artist, I don't really see deeply what they mean. I just know it sounds good. It feels good. So,
But there is some envy in there because what he did say even when he made the comparison. That's why I said it's not a great comparison, but it's good comparison. But what he says in there when he's comparing it to the Globetrotters, and he says, "What if Michael Jordan? What if they had to get jobs because basketball wasn't
enough?
It was the tricks."
Right.
Okay. So what is he really saying about they had to get jobs? So that the people with the skill level isn't the multimillionaires. It's the people that have just the that make you feel good without putting that
extra shit on it. That jazzy shit.
But there's again, and that's why I go back to Mozart. Mozart wasn't liked at his time. It was considered elementary in some respect. But sometimes the simplicity, when you cut all that other shit out of there and you get to that part, there's something to that. But with him, and then when you watch there's other lines in there where they're talking about music, jazz music is a conversation between the instruments. And sometimes the conversations are arguments in jazz. Sometimes the conversations are feeling good about each other. Sometimes there's a dominant conversation going on in jazz. His is...
So we're jazz.
So what?
We're jazz.
Yeah, we're jazz. But his is one note. It would be like if I just came up here and we had, we could have a podcast and probably would be very popular if we came out here and gave a very nice middle opinion and didn't have the big swings that we have,
right,
where we fight and argue. And then the whole world could go, that's a very nice podcast. And they make sense because they talk about it in a nice way and they bring it to us and they serve it up in a way that it's all digestible and we never have to feel any real feelings for it.
Right.
We'd probably be more popular.
I don't know. I don't think so.
We wouldn't be popular to the people that like us now.
Right.
But we could be popular to more people that would appreciate the fact that they could go sleep at night real comfy.
When Kenny G said, and what I liked about it was when they showed in the beginning where he was scheduled to perform at the Blue Note in New York, and the line was down the block, and then they interviewed some of the people attending the show, and the women were like, I play that instrument because of him. He inspired me. And I was glad to see him get his flowers because, again, the way that they interviewed these other jazz artists who shitted on him, and then when you hear his story from beginning to end, and you see his ability and what he can do, I'm like, dude, I can't hate on this motherfucker, man.
I'm not mad at him. I'm just understanding there's a difference between this pop jazz that he does.
Right.
And jazz for the contemporaries in his category that I actually admire. There is a difference between the two. I wouldn't go, hey, that's why they coined a different phrase for what his jazz was, because no one saw it as that kind of jazz. And maybe today because...
And look, he created his own lane.
He did.
You got to tip your hat to him for that.
There's no, I don't have any animosity towards him. I'm not mad at him. Yeah, I do think it's weird that, again, going back to Katie Couric, women finding this jazz so sexy, but it's so one note. And again, I said to you, that is like that's the foreplay. But that's not the girl that's good. That doesn't make you curl up like you when you're.
Right.
It's not. And I'm. And so I get what those other guys are saying. I understand that they're that you can see great jazz musicians who never even come close or 1/10 to what he did. But I give him credit because he didn't know he was going to get that. He wasn't in that lane. He wasn't appreciated. But to believe in yourself, and then when we see the Carson appearance,
right.
And,
I love, that always speaks to me because, again, people that aren't performers, that are in charge of what you do, what you say, power positions, and I'm sorry, y'all. I know I'm treading the same waters. Bottom line, boys and girls, go with your fucking heart. Go with your heart. Your heart will never be wrong. And even if it is,
it's not wrong. Even if it's not right.
Okay,
it is, because there's been many times when I went and saw, I think the audience will like this instead of something that I like. And then I go out there and it doesn't do well. Then I'm thinking I should have done what I like, because if I bomb on what I like, at least I know I went out with the swing.
Context wise, he was doing his first appearance on Johnny Carson, and he was supposed to play a particular song that they had planned, that they had picked out.
And the record company was going to release the
record
single.
company was going to release, and Carson wanted him to play this. I don't even think it was Carson, because
it's the booker.
It's the booker. They wanted him to play a particular song. He wanted to play Songbird. Is everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just making sure everything.
He wanted to play Songbird, and he was telling his band at the last second. And up prior to this, he was struggling to gain success.
Yeah, and he was going to get to do 2 songs. He was going to do the song that they wanted,
right?
And then when they were exiting, when the show was over, he was going to get to play his song. They were going to cut to him, and he was going to play them out.
Right.
But then something happened, and he wasn't going to get to do the 2 songs. It was only going to be the one. So they wanted to play the original song that they talked about.
Right. And he felt like, I've been doing everything they want me to do up until this point with no success. Fuck that. Fuck them. I'm doing what I want.
This is the right song. This is the song that represents me.
It represents me. So he goes, he had his band. He told his band, guys, don't fuck up. I know we've been practicing the song they want me to do, but we're going to do Songbird, so just be ready. And they bring him out. He starts the song, and the guy that's booking him is giving him the fucking signal, like when you rub your hand across your neck, like the cut signal, and telling him he's
flipping him off.
He's flipping him off. He's mad. He's pissed. You'll never be back. It's one of those, you'll never work in this town again. Cut to, the song is a phenomenal hit, and they ask him back again. Fuck it.
But that's just believing in yourself, and that is still as being an artist and being a talent. That's why I said I don't have any dislike for him. I love that. My girl liked going to see Kenny G that night.
Right.
We got home. Kenny G gave me some good ass that night.
Well, then, nigga, you should love Kenny G.
He laid that all out there perfectly for me. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying, but it's a tune-up. It's the beginning. It's the foreplay.
I'm not mad at the tune-up, because the foreplay is great. And Kenny G said, hey man, you know how many times people come up to me and women go, I got married to you. They play him at weddings. One of the most important times what's supposed to be the happiest time of a woman's life, marriage. And that's the go-to. And that's why I'm saying, I just really, I'm not trying to take the legitimacy away from what these other jazz people are saying, but I smell jealousy, man. I just smell a little bit of jealousy.
Of course.
That's all.
Of course. I'm not denying that there has to be a little envy involved in this, because, you're working hard as a jazz musician. You know that you're doing something complexity-wise is at a different level.
Right.
But not everybody can get that. And so he's hitting a bigger, broader market. That's all it is.
All right, I want to jump to this Woodstock 99.
Okay.
First thing I noticed, just to start off on a light note before I get into my bag, James Brown was performing.
Yeah.
Should he have been?
Yeah, well, but no, yes and no. The producers, remember, they talk about this quite a bit throughout this doc. The guy who's putting it on is the original dude from Woodstock. And then they talk about that need that the baby boomer generation needs to continue to present things that were important to them, to make a connection with music, a through line with music through Woodstock being from the 60s to where we are in the 90s. And they're trying to get that music to go that through line so that you can connect the dots of music. And I do think it's important, because I do talk to a lot of people today that don't know the music that we know.
Right.
And they're even in hip hop, when people are, they don't know where some of this came from when they hear like something, when they're stealing some beats or doing something where something comes from something else. There's no idea where any of this comes from. James Brown, and it's so important because, he's the most sampled person in all of hip hop.
Right.
So yeah, there's a through line that is reflective to today, but no one knows it. And to be honest, no one gives a shit. That generation does not. They care about and this is why they care about this. And before we go real far, I'm just going to say this because everything is in their fingertips because it's all on their phone. It's all easy to access. They can get it. We had to work to get shit. We either had to buy it, we had to wait till it came on the radio. We had to put effort into getting it. So it came with more than just, I'm going to push this button and it's here.
Right.
So they don't care the same way that we care. They don't. Do you think any of the? Do you think they even know where a library is? We did shit to get the stuff that we wanted, and I'm not knocking any. Listen, I wish I had it that I could get it that way as well. It's not a knock on you, but there's an appreciation that you don't have because of it.
My only thing is, and I could tell, like especially when they watch this, the way they chronicle it, it starts off from day one and go day 2, day 3, and they go through the, from beginning to end. And like anything else that starts out, there's it doesn't get rough yet. It starts off nice and smooth. I could tell they had to put him on early. Because if they had stuck him in day 2 and certainly day 3, they wouldn't have given him the respect that he would have deserved just being James Brown. Because by that time, they were a well-oiled, rowdy machine.
Right.
So they had to get James out so he could safely get the respect that he deserved.
Well, I think some of that in the beginning, too, is to connect, like they were trying to do, connect that music. So this is the beginning. This is where it comes. This is where we started here to where we're going to end up at. So I do think it was, I not only do I think it was important that he was there, I think it was respectful to put him on the first day because that is the beginning of what we're going to see. But there's all these little touches to the 69 Woodstock, and those people had no idea. They could care less about any of it. So I'm glad they had him up there. I'm glad he got his respect. He did not look like the James Brown that we know.
Of course not.
He was old. And
All right, here's me in my bag.
I know where we're going already. I knew where we were going to go as soon as I was watching this.
And let me preface it first. Again, my white fans, got nothing but love for you. But this ate at me a little bit. This stereotype that has always existed about my people, that we are wild, out of control savages, and black men are sexual deviants, thugs and beasts. But yet at Woodstock 99, who's breaking shit? Who's destroying shit? Who's tearing shit up? Who's setting shit on fire? Who's sexually assaulting women? Dudes running around naked with their dicks out. Motherfuckers showering in water that people are supposed to be drinking. People swimming and rolling around in mud and human feces. The showers were shin deep in human waste. How the fuck are white people comfortable in that?
I have no.
How? And again, I'm not trying to say all white people, but historically, the word mayhem and white people have an association. Mayhem, destruction, chaos, and for all the rap that my people get for being wild, untamable beasts, the proof is in the fucking footage. Niggas don't destroy shit. Mayhem, anarchy, burn shit up, sexually assaulting women like that in the fucking open. But we're the savages. That's insane to me.
Yeah, but this is where we'll get into it. We have video where people are destroying, black and white have destroyed and burned things. So that is, but it,
give me specific.
No,
what do you mean?
But let me finish it though.
All right.
But it's the reason why.
In my notes, go ahead.
Yeah, because you tell me all the time. Make sure that I finish my sentences.
Okay.
It's the reason why. And so I'm just saying that because that's what is going to be said. But the reason why is this happening right then? Why? What is it they're not getting? But I want to say something before we go too far into this, because MTV, even in this documentary, I felt separated themselves from the mayhem that was happening. And I like the word mayhem. MTV has grown that community. MTV grew that community because they wouldn't put black artists on in the first place. On MTV, they created the white male dominant. That's all they ever wanted. They wanted songs for white young men. That's what Michael Jackson is the one who had to break through because he couldn't get airplay.
Who ended up turning into a young white man.
But my point is, the MTV created this crowd, this group that was, and MTV was the one who was like this lead. They were doing it almost like like an MTV special that was on MTV. They created these people. This generation of these people that they're talking to is part of their creation. They created it. So I was very offended by how they look at it now, and even Kurt Loder's point that he was making, but as he was above it, but he was working for the company that created it.
Right.
So I have a disconnect from this documentary, and I have irritation and frustration with it on how it was presented. Because MTV has grown that culture, that male, aggressive, white, rock and roll culture. Woo! They were part of what grew that. So how are they trying to separate themselves from it when the angst came on and the bands that they would go to the bands and then and this is the promoters though saying don't do this, but that's what they got famous for, is for going to help create the mayhem. So I don't understand. I didn't understand that part of the documentary. We can go back to
well, no. Let me be specific now, because I know that there's some people that just heard that heard what I just said and went and kind of what you alluded to. So black people don't burn up and blah 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 and da and songs don't contain violence. And specifically, Limp Bizkit, the lyrics are, "Give me something to break. How about your fucking face?" And when he was, give me something to break. How about your fucking face? And I'm just sitting here going, yes, I know that there is violence in hip hop. And hip hop can be just as violent, but the difference is hip hop music is about a reported truth. Violence that is based around reality, poverty, street life, survival. Young suburban white kids who have lawns and live in nice houses and who a lot of come from money. Where is that rage coming from? Because the black rage, I just told you, is coming from poverty. I need to sell drugs to feed my family and pay my bills. I'm getting shot at. I got to keep a gun on me to survive. So I understand where that's a truth that rap tells, that hip hop tells. It feels like these white boys, y'all just raging to be raging.
Okay. And I'll address that too, because I'm agreeing with you. That's why I said, first of all, it's the reasons why. What is the reason why? What is the rage in these guys? Here's the rage, and it's very simple. It's in the joke that you started to do this weekend about how white people dance versus black. Right. Black people are in a contained. They're contained. There's 1, 2, 1, 2.
A numerical system.
And what is white people?
1, 17, 48, and 375.
No control.
Right.
No
all over the place.
No control all over the place. And no challenges. So if you grow up in a suburban area with no challenges, nothing to define you, nothing to try to find out who your inner person is, you're just this rageful, angry person.
So it's boredom?
I think some of it is boredom.
That's insane.
I'm telling you, because they don't have anything to reflect on who they are. Listen, this group of people.
So it's an in-depth personal thing.
I don't want to just make it that easy, and it's not a pass.
No. I'm not saying it's a pass, but you saying that to me, I could go for a little bit. You're trying to figure out who you are, and you're frustrated. Otherwise, if it ain't that, I'm going, do you know how many niggas in the hood would love to trade places with you white boys? A lawn, a house, no drive-by shootings, no having to feel like every time you walk out your door, you're gonna die, no have to sell drugs. Are you serious?
Okay, and then let's continue to build off that. Where was hip hop, especially that gangster rap as it was put out? Where was that selling the most? Where were the most sales coming from?
Right.
Because they didn't know how to feel a frustration or an anger over what? Over the dad told them they had to cut the grass that day?
That's hilarious. Because that's the reason they'll shoot up a school too.
But and we didn't, and I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to just shit on a generation, but previous generations didn't make that because they had shit that they had to do. They had to go to war. They had to go become men. They didn't have a chance to be at home and be angry and want to just wild out for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, it's part of that generation, and I'm not shitting on it. I think it's something has to do with how we conduct ourselves in this country and what we don't look at someone. And listen, I mean, I would like, who would you, if I had to pick the two, which one would I want? I'm going for the green grass and the pool in the backyard,
right.
and dad telling me that I'm an idiot and I need to cut my hair and not to put gauges in my ears. Over living in an area that has been redlined, poverty is in that area. No one has a chance to own their property or their businesses, and everybody's just fighting to try to get out of that area.
Right.
So when you're fighting to get out of a nice area, where are you fighting to go?
Yeah,
I'm not. It's not a pass.
Right.
I'm just stating what the best I can figure it out.
That's what I'm telling you. When you put it in terms of, because listen, no matter what your situation may be, if you're a black person growing up in the ghetto, or if you're a white guy in the suburbs, internal conflict with yourself, mental conflict, emotional conflict, I can understand how that could, that shit is real.
You only know what you know.
Right. I'm going, for y'all to want to destroy shit, burn shit, our rage is coming from, God damn it, man. I could die tomorrow when I walk out of my door. I could get arrested and go to jail for years and years and years for selling drugs because I'm trying to keep the lights on. I'm 17 years old and I'm the man of my house and all my siblings at 17. I got no mother, I got no father, so I gotta sell these drugs. That to me is just more understandable than you being some rich kid or some well-to-do kid who just, where is this coming from? Okay, where's it coming from? That's crazy.
Where's my place? Where do I go? What do I have? I don't have any challenge. I've seen this in a lot of I've seen it where these guys, I know their dads are very wealthy. There's two things I either see, and neither one of them work. The dad doesn't want to give them anything because they want them to go out and earn it, because they want them to be challenged and do that, and they don't want to do it, and so they're angry. Or the dad gives them everything. They have no challenges. They know they can't live up to what their dad is, so they think of themselves as less than, and they can't figure out how to get anything. So they're both of them have rage. I don't understand this rage. I would love to have what a lot of these kids have and their rage. But when I go back to saying all that, they helped create this. MTV is part of what blossomed and raised these kids.
How did you feel about all the girls showing their tits?
This gets really difficult for me because I do think that in a utopian society, we should be able to walk down the street naked and everybody should be safe. But that ain't the truth.
I thought to myself, let's do the math on this. Naked women plus alcohol plus wild white boys who pretty much automatically come with the attitude of privilege. What could go wrong?
Well, okay, and before we go too far, let's go
by no means am I blaming the women. But as a dad or even as a brother to a sister, I would feel like, bitch, what are you doing?
Okay, let's change this. Let's not blame the women. Like you just said, brother to a sister. You're that age, white or black, I don't care who you are. And you see your sister and she doesn't have her top on. What are you saying to her? Be free? Be free. I love what you're doing with your titties.
I'm telling her, take your ass home. Put my shirt on if you lost yours, or put yours back on and take your motherfucking ass home. And if I got to drag you by your hair like a caveman, I'm doing it.
Okay, so I'm not saying it's the girl's fault, but I'm saying as a guy, we understand what's going to happen in that situation. I'm not writing the situation, but okay, if I go to a park, Central Park, 2:00 in the morning, and just walk in with myself with a few $1,000s in my pocket, and I get through the park and nothing happens to me, cool, right? Now, if I walk through the park and someone mugs me and takes my $1,000, Is anybody really going to feel, and I'm not blaming the women, but is anybody going to feel bad for me that I was walking in Central Park at 3 o'clock in the morning with a couple $1,000 and someone fucking robbed me, gunpoint, and took my fucking shit? Or are you going to go, what were you walking through Central Park for at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with a couple $1,000? What are you doing? You're lucky.
Right.
You're lucky you're alive.
Right.
I'm not putting that on those women. Men should be able to contain themselves. They should be able to hold their aggression and sexual problems in. But what are we told as men, women, naked women, that's all we ever want to see. There's magazines, they sell it to us. Seeing naked women is what we're looking for. That is part of, as a youth growing up, you want to see a naked woman.
Listen, to your point, absolutely, 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 absolutely. It makes me think of Patricia's joke. Women working with men is like bears working with salmon and honey, and we just get to, we get to touch it, we get to smell, look at that honey. Now, he's talking about in a professional atmosphere, at work, dressed in work clothes. You talking about alcohol, women naked, showing their tits. And again, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But come on, man. This if disaster was, had disaster written all over it. And
that's the best word. That's what you just said. I love what you said. It had disaster written all over it. Not putting any responsibility on the women for this, but it had disaster. If it was a movie, you would be yelling at the screen, put your clothes on, turn around. They're coming to get you.
Right.
It's not anything that we couldn't see.
Here's what was telling. And it's like, it's bad when, I don't know the name of the rock group or the white guy, the lead, but he's on stage and he's going, hey, guys, to some of the girls.
The Offspring.
Right. To some of the girls who are, what do they call that shit?
Crowd surfing.
Crowd surfing. You guys are groping them. Like, give the girls a break. But then he dilutes his message by going, and girls, if a guy crowd surfs over you, grab his balls. And the crowd goes, wow! They didn't even hear what you said because you said that.
Yeah, because you just equalized it now. Okay, so if they're going to be grabbing your titties, make sure, and obviously they're grabbing. But listen, man.
I know where he was coming from in terms of.
He was trying to do it and still be a rocker.
Right.
Yeah. But here's the question. Now, here's the question, though, too. And some of the girls' tops were being taken off. So I'm not blaming the girls even if their top was on. Right. But if you're crowd surfing, and I don't know how much crowd surfing you've ever done, Aries.
Zero.
I don't know how much.
I'm not putting my ass crack in nobody's fingers.
I don't know how many times you've been in a mosh pit.
Never.
Okay.
That's white shit I don't understand.
I know black dudes who do mosh pits, okay? So they love punk rock music, and that's part of it. But here's where we're going. You're crowd surfing. You're going to get a finger in your butt.
Ooh, see?
No, because when you're, so they're pushing you like this. They're not like going, oh, don't let me hit their butt. They're just pushing you to the next person.
Right.
You're going to get your titties grabbed. You're going to get your dick grabbed. You're going to get your balls grabbed. You're going to get a finger. I mean, it's going to happen.
Right.
So sometimes I got to ask myself, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And why is this worth it to you? Because if you're a woman, and you're going, and you should be able to do what if you believe that you should be able to do whatever a man's doing, and you want to go crowd surfing, just know that the man's getting his nuts hit. He's getting all that same thing is going to happen to him. I'm not saying be prepared to be what's the
groped?
Yeah, groped and molested up there. I'm not saying that you should be prepared.
But you gotta know that's gonna happen. And because you're a woman.
And now
that's the excuse that they need. They're gonna go, yeah, it's just crowd surfing. But this is a woman, I'm gonna get to grab titty and ass. It's gonna happen.
But you do see the guys are grabbing the girls that do have their tops on that don't want any part of this, and they'll accept the occasional, like the hand went in there because they're part of the crowd surfing. But when you start ripping off their tops, you start doing things to make them naked, because some of the girls were naked by the time they got done with the crowd surfing.
Right.
That's rape. I mean, this
absolutely.
So I'm not condoning it.
Right.
I'm just saying, when you're in this situation, you brought it up, alcohol. This idea of what this is, and then you throw Woodstock on it. I'm just going to add this to it. Woodstock, 1969, free love. That's what came with Woodstock. They want to connect it to the through line through the music.
Right.
But what is it when you watch the movie Woodstock? You see people walking around naked, free love. We're just doing drugs and we're all one. And
Right.
That's the through line. That if you're a teenage, and again, not condoning it, that's the through line for a young man. Free love. I'm going to go there. I'm going to make out with girls. I'm going to fuck girls, whatever. We're all going to do Molly and we're going to be high. And it's going to be cool.
Right.
Again, not condoning it, but sometimes you have to be a realist about some things that are about to happen. I would not want my daughter to go to that. I would not want my son to go to that.
Dude, as a dude who has genuine love for women, cares for women, respect for women, that felt dirty.
Yeah.
It felt dirty and icky. I mean, even when they went, the fucking, again, the water places where people were supposed to drink from, motherfuckers was in it, waist deep, taking showers.
Yeah.
And they busted the pipes. The pipes mixed in with the mud and the backage backed up from the outhouse. And they were like, people were wrestling around in mud and shit. I'm like, they didn't smell that?
I don't know how you couldn't smell it. I guess after a while it becomes the smell, so you get used to it if you're there.
Jesus.
But here's my problem with it too. I hope and I believe in my soul that I've taught my boys well enough that if they went there and they were going like, it's going to be cool, it's going to be a party, and the first day that those outhouses or what are the
outhouses? Yeah.
If they overflowed and the water was back, I know my boys are coming home. I know they're coming home that night. I'm like, fuck the whatever we spent. Fuck that. We're going home. We're not staying.
I guess at that age, that sounds like fun, but I'm just going, dude, when I used to work out at the gyms, I ain't like showering at the gym. I wouldn't want to, I'm not going to a place where for 3 days, my choice is either stink or take a shower out in the open. I'm not doing that.
I'm not an away game player.
I like that. There you go.
Yeah, I'm a home court kind of guy. But again, I just want to reiterate what we've already said, not putting this on the women. And some of this, I hate to say this because I'm alleviating some people of responsibility. I am putting it on the producers of this, though, the people who put the event together. They seemed
like it towards the end, they had no control.
They had no control. They didn't have the right security. They didn't have the right people for it. This idea to do this event in a place that has asphalt. I grew up in Phoenix. I spent a lot of time in Vegas, and we know the hottest part of the day is actually not the hottest part of the sun part of the day. It's when it starts to cool down and the asphalt releases the heat. That's the hottest part of the day. So when I saw this coming on and I was watching it, I go, they're going to do it there? And they're not even going to do it. They're not going to fence it off in a different way. So like the buildings are in use, but all the grounds are going to be grass. I'm like, this is crazy because that has to that the heat that's going to come off of that is going to be huge.
Right.
And I would have thought even if you're going to have porta potties, that was the other word I was looking, porta potties or outhouses. I would have had that in a completely different section where you had to go out of the section to use those facilities and be away from it because you need trucks to be able to get in and empty those things on the regular basis. How are you doing this? I thought the whole setup was ridiculous. I thought it was poorly planned. So I'm putting a lot of, but where's the security? Where's the safety? And this is the other thing. When we go to bars, and this is why when I say I put a lot of this on the people who produce this too. And yes, the men should be able to handle themselves. But we go to bars and we know the guys get fucked up and they get too aggressive with women. But what's there? Security. And there's there to help protect people from themselves and from what they could do to others. There's fights, guys get into fights at these places. There's security. Who was there to take care of the people there to protect them from themselves? And they needed some help in this. Right. Because there's just too many people. It's too much alcohol. It's too much drugs, which they said that they were allowing in there. And you don't need like an exorbitant amount of security to pull this off. And what they were doing, they were basically letting people come to the shows. And these people, they were talking about they would just come in, they would get their laminate, they'd put that in their shirt and they would go enjoy they weren't there to take care of anything. Right. If anything, they were part of the problem. Right.
I gotta ask you, DMX.
I didn't know who was gonna ask it first, me or you.
My nigga, some niggas that you want on the drive, my nigga. I don't know how I felt about that.
1999, I'm going to say that that was not as out of pocket as we were probably looking at it today?
I don't know that I can put a date on validating that.
No, I'm just saying that I could see it with rap music where it was, with the communities. I think the people thought if it was in the song that we're going to be cool. I do think, though, I would like to have seen if it was more of a hip hop slash rock show and it was equal black and white, if it would have still went down that way.
It was a sea of white people.
Yeah.
Simultaneously in unison. My nigga. And the black guy who they cut to made the interesting point. He said, if you're a black guy, there was some sprinkle. It was like, where's Waldo niggas?
There was black
where's
folks
Willie's?
there.
Yeah, there was black people there, but it was where's Willie's? And if you're a black dude in a sea of white people and you can't see another black dude for 800 miles and you came with your white friends and they're doing that, I guess you have to be the kind of black person that was already comfortable with it.
Okay, let's ask for more questions. So DMX sees a room, a sea of white people, chooses that song to perform there. That's him going like that with he's expecting that to come back at him. Is that not part of what the show is then? Because was he expecting the 22 black people in there to shout it out and all the white people just to be completely silent?
That would have been funny.
It would have been funny.
That would have been funny.
And today,
because you would have been able to hear those 22 black people. If all the other white people were quiet. So do you know how funny that is?
Yeah, I do.
They all shut up and you just hear, my nigga. And you would be able to clearly hear 22 white people. Oh, that's hilarious. But here's the thing. Him doing that, him giving the license, that's what makes you go, all right. Because he did it. He's the guy that wrote the song. He's the black guy. He did it. But damn, yo, like damn.
You know, I'm going to tell you, I've always had a problem with it in music because this is a two-parter. So let me finish it because you say sometimes I don't finish things the right way. Let me try to finish it. I've always thought of it was in music. Like when we talk about comedy on stage, we'll talk about acting. Actors get to say it. So in music, you're not. It's not you. It is. You're singing the song. You're part of that song. So that hits and you say it because it's part of the music. And I'm going to say in 1999, I think the thought process was more like this. What really changed my mindset especially on music and why I have removed it and why I don't do it on this. And even if I will do it on stage occasionally and I've basically retired that joke. But it's that show that I was watching when that one guy said that it was a black dude who said, it's very important that white people don't say it because it's that one word that you can't say, which gives white people a small window into what it's like to be black people, to not be able to use all the things that everybody else can use. And this is the one thing that you're not allowed to use. Black people have gone through this country and not been able to have access to many things that white people get access to throughout this history. So there's the one that you don't have access to. And it made sense to me. Oh, I don't have access to this, just like the many things that black people don't have access to. So I'm getting this one, and it's a word. And white people make a big deal about it. And when I heard him say that, I go, that summed it up for me and made all the sense in the world to me. This is the one thing that you don't get to do, even though there's 20 we don't get to do, 40, 100 that we don't get to do. But that's how it feels. And that to me made sense and made sense to me. So yeah, when I heard it, I got the same feeling, but then I went and go, what was 1999 like? What was it before the 2000s? Was it different? Was there a little bit more? And there's other videos where you hear guys saying we didn't grow up that way and I remember guys that grew up in neighborhoods with black dudes and they had the same swag. They talked the same way. It didn't offend them.
Yeah, but it's funny when you go, well, what was 1999 like at that time? White people saying nigga has been way beyond and before 1999.
I'm talking about in a social situation where everybody's out singing it. And is it a big deal for the writer and the hip hop artist to I'm not even saying give license, but let that be part of the show? Because that didn't seem to me, what I remember back then, that didn't seem to be outlandish. I still didn't use it then.
Right.
But if I had a conversation with someone and that word came up, I didn't go N-word because I don't even think people said N-word like that back then. I think that's something that came up more in the 2000s where we just go, oh, we have to address that word. We're going to address it in N-word, not saying the word to have the conversation.
How funny would that have been if that was the callback?
N-word?
My nigga, my N-word. Just off screen.
I like Larry David. Would have been better if they would have just yelled back, my Caucasian.
You know, I'm going to ask you this because I'm going, do you think DMX did that purposely? Because he could have done any other song, and he did do a couple songs.
It was a hit song, though. It was a big hit song. But is he an entertainer or is he an activist? Is he there to entertain? Is he there because that's his song and he wants to put it out there and he loved the emotion? Look, if you're an entertainer and you're a musician and you have 100,000 people there and that whole island of people is coming back and anytime that a musician says something and then the audience repeats it back, that's a big moment, right? It's a big moment where the connection, the audience, everybody's on the same page. So do you think the artist said it or the black guy said it?
I don't know. I just feel like the same excitement that a lot of them white dudes felt, titties, they were geared up to go, we can say, nigga. It's the same enthusiasm.
Well, and my question is then, and this is my big question on the podcast, why I won't say it. How many of those white Wild 'N Out boys then felt like anytime they were around black dudes that they could say it after that?
Probably not at all.
You don't think so at all? You don't think that they were already drunk drinking and they thought they could say it? I bet they did.
No, they knew the difference. They knew where they was at. They got the license from DMX and they were surrounded by nothing but them.
If that's the case and they got the license from DMX, that was what they said because it was part of the song, but they knew better the rest of the time, then I'm not...
Around a bunch of niggas?
Yeah.
Yeah. If them same white people were somewhere...
No, I'm not talking somewhere. The rest of that weekend. They're at Woodstock, and now the black dudes are just, they're in there.
Right.
So now are they still using it? Do they still use it because they feel like they got the license for the weekend from DMX?
Yes, because you got two main ingredients.
Then that's the problem.
White plus alcohol.
But then that's the problem. That's the problem with them doing it. That's why I won't do it on here. I'm never going to license. I'm never going to make anybody believe that there's a license. I'm never going to believe that there's a license. That there's a what do you call it? An invite to the barbecue. There's none of that shit to me. There's none of that. None of that goes anywhere. I love that people think that they can get that. And if you get a pass to the barbecue, the invite, it's for that day. It's for those hours. It's for that moment. You still aren't in. I don't care. And when you say white people, there's a certain group of white people that I fucking can't stand. So that's why I argue with you on what is white people, because let's put it this way. You have differences with black people too. When you see black people and you don't see them the same way that you see others of you that you connect with. I feel the same exact way. I feel the same exact way over white people.
I love when Moby said, because it hit me comedically, the same thing. When Moby said, after doing this for a long time, you develop a sixth sense of what a venue is going to be like.
Yeah.
And when he went, I just looked and I saw the energy I felt, and he knew it was bad. And how many times when we're together on the road, I go, this is going to be a horrible show, or this is going to be good. I could feel there's an energy that you feel, and it's like a sixth sense. It's the best, where you just go, this don't smell right. And when you put in 32 years, you fucking know. There are times I've been wrong, of course.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I can smell it.
Yeah. Since we've been on the road, I think maybe once or twice once you were off a little bit. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
And then once it was good, and you even went afterwards. Oh man, they got me.
Right.
But it's that rare. It's that rare.
Yeah. This is my last note on this. Korn. How the fuck is this music? And I know it's subjective, but how is that music?
It's so much music that there is an art to doing that. That you can't just do that. I know people think
I just did it.
Nah, but you can't do that for a whole set. You'll lose your voice. There is an art to doing that. Listen, man, I am not, this is not my music. It's not my genre. I don't have I appreciate artists for being artists.
Right.
And I appreciate a skill set that, like you said,
Yes.
that, I don't have, and I can appreciate it because of it. It's not my area. It's not my area at all. It's not mine. I'm not mad at it. Ice-T has a heavy metal band, and they have some of that in there too, because they have the. So it's not. I'm not even. This isn't. We could make it racial because we know what the dominant side of that music is, though. It is white.
Yes.
But there are people that cross over into that genre. It's just not my genre. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, as an artist, I appreciate. Musically, I appreciate a little bit of everything except classical. I ain't rocking.
I like classical.
Beethoven or Chopin.
You're missing, man.
Yeah, I can't get with that. But a little bit of country. I've always said Randy Travis. I'm a Randy Travis fan. I love me some Michael Bublé. I love Frank Sinatra. Of course, anything black, but that's all music. Hip hop, R&B, soul, blues. I like a little rock. One of my favorite groups, and I guess they were one and done, was In Living Color, Cult of Personality.
No, they
That's
stick
my
around
song,
for a long time,
dude.
Yeah.
Look into my eyes, what do you see? I'm the cult of. I used to rock that shit.
So it can be catchy. There's things that can be catchy.
But I can't. No, I can't do that.
But the guys from Korn were more enlightened than a lot of the other guys. When you're listening to them talk about what was happening in the crowd, they were more aware of what was going on than a lot of the guys that you did understand what the fuck they were saying.
What's crazy is Metallica, they're not like their fans. You know what I'm saying? Like the lead singer of Metallica, how them dudes and rock out, yeah, and Mayhem. Dudes ain't like that.
See,
family men, loving men, calm. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what's funny about Metallica is out of all these other groups, and I'll probably be like, someone's going to send a letter who listens to this because they'll say that I picked the most commercial. That's one that I appreciated because they're professionals in what they did.
Right.
Now, I don't like everything that they've done, and I don't have their albums laying around, but I understand their talent as artists.
Right.
And there's other artists. I understand Korn. I understand. I appreciate them for what they do in their genre.
Right.
It's just not as. It's if someone came up to me and go, I got free tickets to Korn, I'd be like, yo, man, good luck with that. I wouldn't go to the concert.
Right.
It's just not. It's not me.
Right.
And I'm not putting them down. I understand, but I also wouldn't go because there's people that would really enjoy that show, and it's not going to be me.
Right. Yeah. Again, I would have never went to Woodstock simply because most of the music on the roster is not my music, And for me to go, well, I want to be a part of something that was historical back in '64. So to do it now, that scene. Nah, yo, too many people, the heat, the lack of water. That's sleeping on the ground in tents. Nah, I'm not that guy. Like you said, I'm a home nigga.
Yeah, I didn't say that though, but close. We just had a whole episode about it. So
right.
But 69 and 94, I think were like this connection. But I 99 was a money grab to me,
right?
And maybe the people who put it together didn't feel that way, but it felt that way. It looks that way. History's going to remember it that way.
Right.
And corporately, yeah, you could bring your own water in, is what they're saying, but you're charging $4 for water. Even if you brought your own water, you're going to be done with your own water in day one, day two, maybe.
Right.
So now and these are kids, man. I just think there was a better way to do this if they really were serious about it being Woodstock and this legacy that it had to protect. And I don't feel like they had any desire to protect the legacy of Woodstock.
Was there any reported sexual assaults in '64 or whatever it was? 69?
Oh yeah, they even talk about that at the beginning. We remember it the way we want to remember it. I'm sure there was, but sexual assaults didn't get reported the same way. I'm sure that there was.
Right.
You can't listen, and this goes back to what I'm saying about this 99. You can't have naked people running around doing drugs and drinking and think that there's not going to be any kind of assault. There is going to be a creeper out there somewhere
right.
that's going to cause a problem. And that's the facts. So when I say I don't, if people misconstrue this as saying that I'm giving the guys a pass, I am not. I'm saying though, this is going to happen when there's naked, drunk people. It's going to happen. And then what is consent when you're both drunk and you're both naked and you're both doing drugs and you both drank? What is consent? Neither one of you can consent at that point. So yes, there was sexual assault, intentionally or unintentionally. Sexual assault happened in '69.
This is where I know some black people, especially from the South, may write in. Do you remember Freaknik?
Yeah.
In Atlanta?
Yeah.
See, I never went to Freaknik. I heard it was, I want to say, obviously, because of the amount of people, the difference, a much calmer, tamer version of Woodstock for black people. But still, girls twerked and shook their ass and was half naked. But I never heard any stories about sexual assault. I never heard stories about destruction, mayhem, fucking shit up. It was just niggas dancing to loud music, smoking, drinking. Because if black people had done that, that shit would have been shut down immediately and eventually came to an end. But Freaknik was an every year thing for a while.
I'm going to say something. I'm going to be wrong, I'm sure, but I'm going to say it anyway and see if we can figure it out this way. I think that there is a difference in that because that was going to be, it was going to be all black, right?
It was all black.
Okay. What's the police department in Atlanta?
I want to say all black.
So it's black dominated.
Okay.
When you don't hear a lot, unless it gets out of control, like Woodstock 99 did,
right?
And you have to call in not just your police department, but now you're calling in the sheriff department, and does some things get taken care of in house differently? When black police come out to a black event and it's black, and because I know that's what's going to happen at a white event.
I know, but even now I'm going, okay, I hear you because Atlanta's such a chocolate city, about the police being black. Of course, Freaknik is black, but aren't there still the higher ups white? Aren't the higher ups really? And if niggas was out of control like that, the higher ups.
I'm not talking about burning things down, knocking things down. But if there's some sexual assault going, it's probably going to be handled the way. And I'm not saying that it's supposed to be handled this way. I'm saying it's handled it's usually handled quiet. I
have a hard time believing the media gives a pass on being able to report black men being sexual deviances, assaulting women.
I think if it's controlled by the same group that it's happening to, I'm not saying that it happened that way. I'm not saying that. I'm asking the question because I know in a white group that would probably be handled that way. Some things would get reported, some things wouldn't, but would it be as big? I don't think so. I think the white group would handle it in a white way, and I think if it was a black group, I think a black group would handle it and keep it in house in black way. I'm not saying I'm right. I asked the question. I said I might be getting this wrong, but I see it over here, so I'm asking would it happen over there?
Right. Okay. I think that's it, brother.
All right, we're gonna do Stigwood.
We're gonna have to do it another because otherwise that's another half hour.
Yeah, and it might even go longer because that dude has a fucking career. So if you get a chance and you want to tune into what we're going to talk about again here in the future, it's going to be Music Box, and that's on HBO. And it's Mr. Saturday Night, and this dude has a very interesting career.
Robert Steiger, is it?
Stagwood.
Stagwood? I thought it was Robert Steiger.
I thought it was Stagwood.
No, I think it's Steiger.
Okay, you might
Stiga.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think I fucked up on that.
Yeah.
I think I wrote it down wrong. All right.
There it is.
That's it. Dates.
Yes. And if you want to write into the podcast, Aries Spears 45 at Hotmail.
If we got this right, you're listening to it Wednesday, the 6th of July, and we're going to be following up in Irvine that week, 7th through the 10th, Irvine Improv. Then following week, the 15th and 16th, Aries will be at the Kansas City Improv with
Gerard Guillory.
And the following week, July 21st through the 24th, big string there, a full weekend, we'll be at the Blue Room Comedy Club in Springfield, Missouri, followed by the 28th through the 30th will be at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then I'm just going to throw in this next date because I really am excited to be going to these places because we haven't been there. Mic Drop Comedy in San Diego, a brand new club. It's going to be our first time there. On the 4th of August, I'll be there. I got my own show that night, and then Aries and I will be there the 5th through the 7th, the rest of that weekend. All right?
Coming up. God, I felt like I did this before. So I'm going to send Steve. Steve, I'm going to send you a backup just in case we've played this guy. I kind of remember, I think I remember giving out his tags because they feel familiar. If you recognize it, Steve, as me having already done this, then play the backup. So I'll do 2 intros right now. All right, coming up. So let me count that in, Steve. In 3, 2, 1. Coming up right now, this is JV Friday the 13th. Twitter, at JV Friday the 13th. Instagram, JV Friday the 13th, same thing. Facebook, JV Friday the 13th, same thing. And then YouTube is at JV Friday the 13th. Hoodlum, HOODLUM. Enjoy, motherfucker. Enjoy, motherfuckers. Enjoy, motherfucker. Yeah. See, I just did it.
Yeah, don't you appreciate that smooth jazz now?
Yes.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Kleinschmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.